I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying like, oh, why is Carlos asking them this? Like, what does that have to do with anything? Why is he asking them about the cheating now? Da, da, da. I had no problem with it because it came up this season, and Chris and Nell have both expressed that they dealt with infidelity in their marriage. They brought it to the show themselves, and it was a question. It was something we wanted to know about during the season when they brought it up, and when Letitia asked them. But they've brought it up on their own, so I didn't see a problem with him asking it. We all wanted to know it before the reunion anyway, so. But y'all let me know in the comments, did you think it was weird for Carlos to ask them about the cheating in their marriage? Because I didn't find it weird. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Brandy Yvonne channel. Of course, I'm your girl, Brandy Yvonne. Here at my channel, we do fun reviews, recaps, and discussions of all of our favorite shows, y'all. It is Saturday night. We are talking about Love and Marriage Huntsville on OWN. This is season 6, episode, I want to say it's 34. Now, my TV, some reason, tonight, messed around and said season 5, episode 18. And all this time, it's been saying season 6. And now, all of a sudden, we get to the last episode, you want to say season 5, episode 18. So, we've been saying season 6, so we're going to just finish it up with season 6. I don't know what OWN be having going on with their episode numbering, but I need them to get it together, okay? Anyway, y'all, before we get into it, please do not hesitate to click that thumbs up button, y'all. Subscribe to this channel. It is still a growing channel. Comment down below. Let me know you are a new subscriber. Shout out and say hey. I will say hey back. And share the video where y'all like to share y'all content, okay? We got to help this channel grow. The algorithms don't be algorithming right lately, so we got to do what we got to do, okay? So this is the final installment of the reunion, part 3, okay? We are wrapping up Love and Marriage Huntsville. We do pick up with Love and Marriage DC next weekend. I was going to do this video live, but like I told you guys in the Ready to Love video, I forgot to even create the live on StreamYard and post about it. Like, the week just been crazy. So I'll try to do maybe some more lives for Love and Marriage DC, like maybe the first or second episode. We'll see though. Anyway, let's get into this reunion. Part 3 was good. I thought it was entertaining. I don't know if it was better than part 2 or not. Part 2 was explosive. Part 3 was good though. Anyway, let's talk about it. So we pick up basically where we left off with Miss Betty and Mel get into it, arguing back and forth, and Stormy's trying to get a word in. She can't. Miss Betty over there telling whatever, all that. It was irritating, to be honest. I was glad when we wrapped it up. Mel kept saying, Stormy, what are you gonna say? Go ahead, Stormy. So Stormy finally spoke up and said, when the thing happened with the tweet, she did feel like it could have gotten resolved a lot sooner than it did, and she didn't want things to get out of hand. Things can get to be too much. That's why Tiffany is leaving. And she said, when you build something from the ground up, like I have my business I built up, like Mel, you did this, you built this, and stuff can get torn down real easy. It's just, she just wanted her to nip it in the bud, basically. But she said she never wanted it to be about her mom not liking her. And so then, because she said it had nothing to do with that. And so, which I do agree, I think it really just had to do with the tweet, and Miss Betty kind of jumped in it. Now, I don't know if Stormy put a battery in Miss Betty's back, but I can't see Stormy doing that. So then Miss Betty over there hollering, I don't like her either. She don't like me. I don't like her either. And then Mel said, I never said I didn't like you. I never said I didn't like you. And so she was like, well, Miss Betty said first she didn't like how her ways, but now she just don't like her. And she was like, well, you need to set an example. That's so sad. Shame on you. Shame on you. And so anyway, I think Carlos has squashed it. So then he went to Junior and he said, okay, Junior used to work for Canvas Beauty. And, we've seen where that happened, what's going on with that now. So he said, first of all, working for family, it can have its ups and downs. He took advantage of a lot of the ups. And he did apologize to Stormy for that. And so he said, he talked to, I guess, Stormy and Courtney and said that, he felt like he needed to move in a different direction. So now he is no longer working for Canvas Beauty. And so Stormy was tearing up, and Carlos asked her why. And she said because, she knows Junior is a manager at a restaurant now. She wishes that he could be a manager at Canvas Beauty. And he's like, I know. And so You know what? I feel like good for Junior. Like, kudos to him. Like, if he felt like he needed to move in a different direction and to be better somewhere else, that's good. And like Carlos said, well, you know, it's a good thing that because Carlos said it's good because he just told you basically, I love you more than your money, and I'd rather not, you know, take advantage of you and your company. And Carlos was like, there's a lot of people he not gonna hire to work at the Kingdom that his family, because he didn't want to have to fire them. And that makes sense. When you're doing anything with family and it comes to business, it can be very hard. It can be very tricky, like housing, like renting from family or renting to family, letting a family come work in your business, because family, they believe in these, you know, made up rules or arbitrary rules. Like, okay, automatically I can come in late because I'm family, or automatically I can skip a rent payment because I'm family. So things like that. So I think that's good. If he feels like he would do better with somewhere that's not family, I say good for him. Nothing wrong with that. I get Stormy wants to pull all her family in, but you can't always pull all your family in, like Carlos said. So I think that's good. I'm proud of Junior for doing that and recognizing that and making that move on his own and trying to better himself, right? So then Carlos is like, okay, Miss Betty, what about your, you know, relationship with Aunt Lisa, Junior's mama? So she said, you know, things are still the same with her. And so Carlos was like, you don't think you guys can work it out? She said that she doesn't think so. Like, did you watch the same show we did? Like, I tried to make amends with her. She told me she didn't love me. She told me, you know, she wouldn't try to hug me at the fish fry. You know, we tried, like, there's nothing I could do. So, you know, Carlos did wish them the best. And then that was the end of that segment, thank God. And then the producer came through and said, okay, you're done here. You can go home. So then Carlos kind of reset and said, okay, now we're at part 3 of the reunion, even though we was already down to the part 3, but that's how they chopped it. So then we had the Fletchers and Kiki back on stage. And so then we got to know the Fletchers better, show their package. And so Carlos said, you know, Miss Nell was reluctant. You know, why was Miss Nell reluctant to be on reality TV in the beginning? Which I was shocked, because she seemed, the way she behaved on the show was like she wanted to be on the show, but I guess she didn't initially want to be on the show. So maybe that's why we only saw bits and pieces of them just counseling Mel and Martel a few years ago, and that was it. It's because Miss Nell didn't really want to be on the show. I was very shocked to learn that. So Miss Nell said it's because of what you see right there, because, you know, the family is a lot. I wasn't, you know, I have my own stuff going on, so I wasn't ready to share all that, which is understandable, right? And so Carlos did say, you know, this is the first time we've had this dynamic with someone having grown children on the show, like what's going on with the family now. And I was like, you know, I never thought about that, because everybody else on the show, their kids are like teenager or younger. Nobody has grown adult kids on the show. So that is a different dynamic that they did bring to the show. And I like their family dynamic. And y'all have to forgive me if I ever sound weird on the video. I had a dentist appointment on Monday. Something's going on with my tooth, so please bear with me. Anyway, so Carlos asked Miss Nell, how's the family doing now? She said they're doing good. Chris is communicating more. Everything is good. I wish she would have brought up Lexi, but she didn't bring it up. I'm assuming it's probably still too sensitive to bring it up is the reason why. And because she has a different mother, that's, you know, a whole different ballgame, y'all. So she said she thinks the issue was money, and Chris doesn't like to be called out, but Chris doesn't feel like she needs to loan them so much money. But Miss Nell, because they have their own bills, Miss Nell feels otherwise, and then the rift comes, or they're not trying to pay her back. So she don't want to lose their relationship with her kids. So she says now, like, you know, just pay me back when you can, even though it's a loan, like when you get the money, because I'd rather, you know, she'd still rather be in their lives than let money come between it. But my thing is like, girl, stop loaning them money. Like, that's what you need to do. Like, if you keep enabling them, this is what they're going to do. And then you not setting hard boundaries with them paying you back. Like, no, that's not good. But people who, you know, use money like that in that way sometimes to manipulate and control people, but that's a whole nother topic for another time, y'all. Anywho, then they got into the whole Black Business Expo thing and why they felt, you know, like they should have been invited to the Black Business Expo. And Chris said, well, we've been, you know, own business in this town for 30 years. We have multiple businesses. So we felt like only right we could be on the panel. And then Ms. Nell said, Tish told her that she was going to invite her. And she's like, you say you're going to do something, you need to do it. Now, why this lady keep calling her Tish? I don't know. So it was like a pause. And then Letitia gave some weird answer about, you know, when she saw Chris at the kid's birthday party, she was going to invite him, but then she started thinking about the core six, and then it kind of slipped her mind. And then Chris was like, well, Stormy and Courtney are not part of the core six. And so she was like, right, but, you know, me and Stormy been in contact, and for, you know, we talk all the time, and I know what Stormy does. I didn't know exactly what Chris and Nell, I didn't know what Nell did, and I didn't know exactly what Chris and Nell did. Now, when it comes to Letitia and Marsau saying they didn't really know what Chris and Nell did, I just don't believe that. I don't believe that Huntsville is that big. Huntsville is apparently very small. And I think everybody knows each other. That's what actually makes this show really, really good. It is that they all really do know each other, right? Like, we actually have family. Like, we have two brothers. We have a cousin. So I don't believe that they didn't really know them. I think they at least knew of them. And I believe they knew what businesses they had. Especially with Marsau being in construction and Letitia being in real estate. I believe they knew who they were. So anyway, so Marsau said Chris came to Black one day and he had like a different truck. It was like a cleaning business truck. And Marsau said, oh, what is this? You got a cleaning business? Like, how long have you had that? And Chris was like, oh, I've been had this. And so Marsau said, oh, so you're a real estate broker and you have a cleaning business. And so he said, you know, looking back, I thought that was weird because, you know, he's over here telling me about his different businesses, but he never once brought up the businesses that his wife had. And I felt like he was holding back on me and he was kind of being sexist, not mentioning his wife's businesses. Now, I was hollering at that part, y'all, because Marsau be trolling us, okay? I know, y'all, we all get mad at Marsau and the crazy stuff he says. He's definitely a chauvinist. He's definitely a sexist. He's definitely an a-hole. I can't take it away from him. But he be doing that stuff on purpose. And he be funny to me, okay? So I was hollering that part because the idea of Marsau calling another man a sexist when he is the king of being a sexist, right? So then everybody was just kind of silent, and I think they laughed. And so Carlos said, I found that rich, Marsau, you calling another man a sexist. And so then Marsau was like, rich, is that the word we calling it now? Carlos, Kimmy was like, I like that. So then I think at that point they transitioned to talking about they went into the cheating thing, not the Houston trip. I was going to jump ahead. So they talked about Letitia asking Ms. Nell and Chris about, you know, the cheating that they had in their marriage, right? And so Letitia's answer was so weird at that part because she said something about I guess she meant for people who watched the show for 6 years, but the way she worded it was in a weird way. And she said, you know that I'm very direct. You're more direct now, Tisha, I'll give you that. But you were passive aggressive, but now you're direct. Okay. So anywho, so Carlos did ask the Fletchers, you know, or now, how did you find out that Chris had been cheating on you? So I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying like, oh, why is Carlos asking them this? Like, what does that have to do with anything? Why is he asking them about the cheating now? Da, da, da. I had no problem with it because it came up this season, and Chris and Nell have both expressed that they dealt with infidelity in their marriage. They brought it to the show themselves, and it was a question. It was something we wanted to know about during the season when they brought it up, and when Letitia asked them. But they've brought it up on their own. So, I didn't see a problem with him asking it. We all wanted to know it before the reunion anyway. So. But y'all let me know in the comments, did you think it was weird for Carlos to ask them about the cheating in their marriage? Because I didn't find it weird. I found it fine. So anyway, so Miss Nell says she found out through somebody told her that Chris had cheated on her. So Carlos was like, was it the other woman? She was like, no, she don't think another woman would ever step to her and tell her that, you know, her man was cheating on her. So she said somebody else had told her. And so then she, jacked Chris up about it, kept asking him. She wouldn't let off. She kind of backed him in the corner, and then he finally had to come clean about it. Carlos asked Chris if it was multiple women or one woman. Chris said it was just one woman. Carlos asked if they separated at the time. They did separate for 18 months. He asked, why did you take Chris back? She said, just love. She just because she loved him. That's it. And she found it in her heart to forgive him. And that was it. I have no problem with that. That's her marriage. Everybody doesn't want to break up over cheating. They have to work through it, But, she said she had the grace to forgive him. All right. So anyway, I think then that's what led Mel to say, that's why we appreciated the Fletchers being our friends and coming to, to our house. And, the Fletchers would come to our house till 2 or 3 in the morning, talking to us, trying to counsel us and help us through our issues. I was like, dang, the Fletchers was working hard. So she said they really are genuine friends of theirs. That's another thing I like about the show is that we get all this past history about where the relationships used to be before the show. So I was like, dang, 2 or 3 in the morning now. So anyway, Mel said Miss Nell will be up there crying and all that. And so Carlos said, okay, is that why, Miss Nell, you guys, fought for Martel and Nell to stay together? You really had hope for them? And so Nell said, yeah, like we've been through it, so we understood, and we thought they could try to work it out at the time. And she said that she also saw a lot of Chris and Martel. And so Carlos was like, oh, okay, in what way? So she said the flashiness, the cockiness, the clothes, that's how Chris was. And he's very arrogant. And she told him, like, if you don't change up, you're going to lose your family. So we get into the Houston trip next. And so then Carlos is like, thank you to the Fletchers for the Houston trip. They showed a package. So Carlos said, everybody wants to know, Martel, who was that lady that you brought down to the Houston trip? And he said, oh, it was I don't remember her name, but she was somebody who was coming to give me a massage. And so he's like, for massage envy, Tisha was like, you got a happy ending in the end? Like, what is this? And so Carlos was like, there's somebody on the app that gives you a happy ending? Like, what are you talking about? And so he's like, no, she just came to give me a massage. And so, by the way Martel's talking, you could tell he's lying. He's one of those people who does not have a good poker face. When he's adding in extra words, changing in mid-sentence, he is not a good liar at all, okay? You could tell he's lying. Everybody knows Martel's lying. So, Melody was like, well, where was her massage table? She did not come up there with a massage table. A licensed massage therapist was coming up there with a massage table. So Martel was like, oh, sorry, I didn't look up to see if she had a license. I didn't really care about that. So Carlos was like, okay, well, how long was she there? And Martel said, oh, she's there for like an hour and a half. And he was like, oh, okay, so that's all you need is an hour and a half. And he's like, oh, that's all I need. I mean, that's all she needed was an hour and a half to finish the massage. Yeah, right. And so then, Carlos asked Maurice, like, okay, you was up creeping in the night. What was going on? So Maurice then was trying to be funny, say that she was climbing the fence and the gate and pushing in the security code. And Martel's like, nah, man, stop lying, stop playing. So he was like, yeah, Martel let her in once he saw her climbing the fence and stuff. Well, Maurice is joking around. So Maurice said he did look to see if it was waiting to see if somebody he knew so he could say hi. I said, oh, who all you know that Martel been with, Maurice? That's what I wanted to know. And so Carlos would say, okay, was it somebody you recognize? And he said no. So anyway, so then Carlos asked everybody, okay, were you guys upset that Martel brought somebody to the house? And so Ms. Nell says she was, and Marsau also said he was offended as well. Marsau be playing. So Ms. Nell said because it was their trip in their house, she was offended. At the end of the day, he's wrong. He's broken up for Mel, but I do understand why Ms. Nell was offended because you can't just be bringing somebody to the Airbnb if you didn't pay for it. You know what I mean? Or not being considerate of your guests, especially if you're gonna be getting massages, right? So anywho, so Carlos asked Kimmy if she cared. She said no, she don't care. At the end of the day, they, both decided to separate. Like, what does she care? Carlos asked Mel, did you bring somebody to the house? And so Mel was like, no, she was there with her friends having a good time. She didn't bring nobody to the house. And then Kimmy said, oh, but you got a massage too. And so Mel was like, when did I get a massage? Kimmy's like, at the house. And so Mel's like, oh yeah, I did have somebody from come to the house to give me a massage. And so she said it was a licensed massage therapist. It was a young lady. Yes, it was. And so Martel's like, okay, what's the difference? Like, I got a massage. She got a massage. Do y'all care that she brought somebody to the house? And so Miss Nell said, I don't care that she brought somebody to the house. It was a lady. And so Martel said, okay, well, I would feel disrespected. Like, they could have been doing something. And so Carlos was like, well, it's a woman, so how would they have been doing something? And so then Martel was like, don't you be doing that? Like, I guess trying to imply because he's gay, like he will understand what he's trying to say. So then Carlos was like, I only get massages by women at night. And so I guess his face looked turned up. And so Martel was like, why are you looking like that when you said it? And so Martel was like, it's the same difference. And Kimmy was like, but nobody believes that you actually got a massage, Martel. Like, that's the issue. And so then I guess Carlo or somehow Mel ends up, Martel said, how did you get your massage person over there? And so Mel's like, well, don't take my answer, but I have this app. It's called Zeal because I travel a lot, and I need a massage when I land. So I, do the app and you just, put how long you want it, if you want a male or female, all that good stuff. So Carlos was like, I understand, I got that app too. So then Martel gonna say, oh yeah, Zeal. I did the same thing. So then Marcel's like, no, he got that confused with Zeal. So then they kind of switched gears and then they talked about, then I believe they talked about Martel and Miss Nell getting into it and how Martel doesn't like Miss Nell accusing him of cheating and all that stuff. And so he feels like, his thing is he wants Miss Nell to ask Mel, like, if she ever cheated. He's tired of him always saying, he's tired of Miss Nell always saying, oh, your relationship ended because you cheated and you destroyed your family and all that. But I'm like, Martel, that's what you did. Like, Martel, you just be lying so much. And you live in this alternate universe that nobody else lives in but you, sir. Like, you did mess up your family by cheating. Like, nobody is saying anything that's not true but you. So anyway, then Martel's thing is, he's just tired of Nell saying that. Like, you need to ask Mel. So Mel's like, okay, tell me what it is. Tell me what it is. Like, you keep saying I cheated on you. So when did I cheat on you? And so he said, because Miss Nell's like, you cheated for 5 years. And Martel's like, it doesn't matter. Cheating is cheating. And so they're like, it does matter. He's like, she cheated on me. Let me be clear. Like, she cheated on me before. Like, she cheated on me before I was cheating on her or something like that. Y'all know how Martel do. It's so stupid. So then Mel's like, okay, tell me how long. Because he tried to say it was before the 5 years that Mel cheated. And so, or like in the beginning of the 5 years, something like that. And so then he was like, okay, when did we get married? And so then you started cheating. And so then Mel threw out like 2014, 2015, like just to be funny. And then she started laughing. He's like, man, why are you laughing? It's not funny, man. Because, da-da-da. So then they start arguing and going back and forth, and we are tired of this. And even Carlos had to shut it down and say, y'all, we've been having the same argument for 6 years. Like, no, we're not doing this. And then they both kept over talking and going back and forth. And Martel said, no, don't call me a liar. And then Mel was like, you are the king of liars. Like, you are delusional. So they were going back and forth, and they finally ended it. Then Carlos said to Chris Fletcher, like, a lot of people on social medias, didn't like the way that you didn't defend your wife, Chris. So then Chris said, the way he looks at it is that they are friends with Mel and Martel, and it is like brother-sister relationship. And it's just like a brother and sister getting into it when it comes to Mel and Miss Nell. I don't agree with that. I'm not saying a man and a woman can't have disagreements and discussions without it being like a husband has to intervene or anything. However, I didn't like the way Martel was getting too aggressive with Miss Nell. If he wouldn't have elevated or came towards her, or like when he was standing over her over her porch, that's what I didn't like. But them just talking and debating, whatever, I'm okay with that. It was him just getting too loud and aggressive with her and standing over her was the part I didn't like. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this in the comments, because this is like a huge debate for people all the time. So anyway, Mel said, she's had this conversation with Chris off camera before and other times, and she disagrees. She thinks it's totally disrespectful for Martel to be disrespecting Miss Nell. She does not like it. She said, especially because they are friends. Like, if Martel's getting into it with a woman and it's getting heated, then he needs to just walk away. But it's very disrespectful. Like, they are our friends, and she said, you don't disrespect someone's wife. You don't try not to. She said, you don't disrespect someone's wife. And she said, at the end of the day, they are elders. Marsau throwing shade over there to my elders. And Ms. Nell said, well, I look good for an elder. Now, that was a little shady melody to call them elders. But I guess she meant because they are, elders compared to them. So I guess she meant. And so, and I agree with Melody. Like, Martel, you don't need to be hollering at Miss Nell like that. At the end of the day, it was very disrespectful. So, anyway, and I'm glad Mel did say that. And so, Martel said, do you think, you can give Miss Nell an apology? He's like, well, I think we need to apologize to get to each other. And so Miss Nell was like, well, you did come at me, and that's thing I didn't like. And so he did apologize for coming at her. And so Martel said, me and Chris have talked, but he's like, I think that, like, hear me out. A man shouldn't be disrespecting a woman, but a woman shouldn't be disrespecting a man. It works both ways. Like, if a woman is yelling at me, like, and I'm not doing anything, like, for example, if Nell's yelling at me in my face and she's yelling at me, I ain't saying nothing, I'd be like, hey, dude, like, you need to get your wife. Like, she the one coming at me. And so, and he's like, I don't think a woman should be crossing boundaries like that. So I was like, what? Like, Martel, what are you saying? So then Miss Nell was like, what do you mean, like, a woman needs to not be crossing boundaries or whatever he said? She's like, I speak up for all women, so, like, what are you saying? And so then Marsau over there piping up, and then they want to play the woman card. Like, be quiet, Marsau. So then Martel, then I think that's when he said, I've talked to Chris Fletcher. Me and him have conversations, and, he knows that his wife likes to yell and stuff, and she yell at him, she yell at the kids. They're like, okay, have you had that conversation with him? But Chris didn't say anything, and I just wish that Chris would have spoke up more for his wife. Like, he just let her do all the talking. He did not ever pipe up. But I need a little bit more from you, Chris. Like, you could have really got Martel together a little bit more, in my opinion. Because clearly this man was yelling at your wife. Okay, multiple times. Anyway, they continue to talk about the Houston trip. And they talk about Kiki coming down to the trip. Carlos said, okay, Kiki, after you threw this drink on your cousin, did you think it would be a good idea to carry yourself down to Houston? Like, were you having intentions to apologize, make amends? She said she didn't intend to, like, she wasn't coming to make amends, but she did want to make sure, people knew she was wrong. And I think she did want to apologize, and she also wanted to just come to Houston and have a good time, okay? Kiki showed up because production told her she had to be on the all-cast trip, and her showing up was going to make a bunch of commotion and make the show good. Okay, that's why Kiki showed up. Okay, and Ms. Nell was the one that was allegedly inviting her. Okay, that's what it was, and we already know that. So, Carlos asked Tisha if she felt blindsided. Of course she did. She reiterated what she already said on that Houston trip. And so, how she felt blindsided, and she wished that Ms. Nell would have came to her and talked to her about it, and let her make the decision for herself before she went on the trip. So Carlos asked Miss Nell, like, how important was it for you to have Kiki there? Miss Nell said it wasn't important at all. She said she talked to Kiki. Kiki wanted to come apologize. She told Kiki, girl, you could do that in Huntsville on the phone. She said, but at the end of the day, she wanted to make her own decision. So then I think Carlos asked Kiki and Tisha where are they at now? Tisha, like, do you want to make amends with Kiki? Tisha basically said no, like, she's tired of trying. She's basically done with it. She don't know why Kiki is doing all this, acting like this. She don't know where it's coming from. She's done with it. Carlos asked, have you spoken to any of your family? And so she said she did talk to her uncle, which I think is Kiki's dad, I'm assuming. And so she said they just need to talk and they need to talk. Tisha's like, I don't have nothing to talk about. Like, I didn't do anything. It's all her. She said I could choose my friends now. And Tisha looked like she was going to cry in that moment. I feel bad for both of them. I think Tisha could own her accountability in that. Kiki did most of the wrong, in my opinion. Okay, because I know everybody don't agree with that. In my opinion, Kiki did most of the wrong. But I could see some wrong that Tisha could own. I think they just need to meet in the middle somewhere. But in my opinion, Kiki definitely, because Tisha said we kept, saying we're going to agree to do this and move on. And Kiki was the one that kept going back. And that's what we saw on screen. Okay. So that's just my thing. And Kiki's the one that keep talking about her marriage and stuff. So that's how I feel about it. So then I believe we switch gears and ask Kiki, Kiki said, or Carlos asked Kiki, people say you came on the show to basically solidify yourself. So your thing with Tisha was the way you kind of cemented yourself on the show, and you chose the show over Tisha. And so she said those are not her intentions at all. And Carlos also said, let me be clear. We brought Kiki on the show because, you guys are family, and we've seen Tisha's family on the show, and those dynamics, will play out really well. Like I said, that always works for a show like this, right? So Kiki said those were not her intentions to sacrifice her relationship with Tisha for the show. She said from the beginning, Tisha was always supposed to bring Kiki on the show, and Tisha's the one that switched up. And so Tisha's like, what are you talking about? Like, I have not switched up. Like, what are you saying? And so Tisha was like, yeah, we were going to always bring Kiki on the show. But I also told Kiki that she shouldn't probably do the show because all the things that she had going on. And I even talked to Kimmy about it, and Kimmy and Maurice about it, and Kiki talked to them as well. And if I was in her shoes, she has some things going on that could be really detrimental to her family and blow her whole life up. So if I was her, I wouldn't want to do a reality show. And so Kiki was like, there's only two things that could, be blown up on the show, and I've already talked about them. She's like, that's my addiction to pain pills. I've never taken anything else besides pain pills. And then the infidelity in my marriage, which could affect, me and my husband dynamics and all that, but that's nothing else. So then Martel over there on the side saying that's not it, huh? And so Marcel said, hell no. So then after Kiki was saying, what the two things were, then Martel pipes up and says, oh, Marceau and them said there's something else. There's something else major that could be exposed on the show. And so Kiki was like, well, what is it? Tell me what it is then. And so then Letitia said, I didn't say that. Martel just said that. Marcel said, Carlos, let the record show that I did not expose anybody's information on this show. I did not bring out nobody's new information in for them. Tisha said, that is not my story to tell any information about somebody. Now, Tisha, you did bring out her cheating with her husband on this show. Now, we didn't know that until last part of the reunion, girl. So you did bring that up. I felt like there was something and everybody knew it but us. Did anybody else feel that way? I felt like Mel and Martel knew what it was. I felt like Kimmy and Maurice knew. I felt like the core six at least knew whatever this other thing Kiki had going on. And maybe, the Stormy and Courtney didn't know. Maybe the Fletchers didn't know. And I definitely didn't know. I feel like Carlos may know it. Who knows? Anyway. Moving on, Carlos said he does want to see them in their relationship due to the fact that their daughters are like best friends. And Tisha said she feels that way also. They call each other every day. And so Tisha feels bad because she makes up excuses every day of why her daughter can't go over. I think the girl's name is Audrey or Auburn, Audrey's house. And so Marcel said, well, we're trying, but the Kiki is the one that's not trying. Like every time, we say, okay, she can come over here. They always have an excuse and don't let her come over and say all this stuff. And so Tisha said Kiki even took the girl's number out the phone or blocked her daughter's number out the phone. And so Kiki was like, no, I never did that. What are you lying? You lying? So Carlos was like, okay, we're going to do it right here because I don't want to bring the kids into it. And Carlos was trying to do it. Kiki kept talking, but he cut the conversation right there. And that is really, really sad that this thing with Kiki and Tisha is trickling over to the girls, to the cousins, and them being friends. And I hope this generational issue that trickled down from Kiki and Tisha's parents does not trickle down to their daughters now, right? Because it's already trickled down to Kiki and Tisha. Now, is it going to trickle down to their two daughters? I really hope not. I hope the girls can still be friends and be close cousins, because I think that's wonderful that they are close cousins. And it just made, the whole thing made me sad. I hope they can get some help. They need Dr. Francis, okay? Somebody get Dr. Francis on the line, because he is the only one that's going to really help Kiki and Tisha at this point, okay? And bring Miss Wanda to counseling too while we at it. So anyway, oh, and Stormy and her family definitely need Dr. Francis on the line, okay? Aunt Lisa and Miss Betty, they definitely need to get Dr. Francis on the line, okay? So anyway, then I think by this point we're pretty much at the end of the reunion, y'all. I believe so. Oh no, then we talked about this thing is just so stupid with Tisha taking his pregnancy test. Okay, that was like the final main segment. And by this time, Martel, I think, was getting sleepy. So, Carlos asked, okay, Tisha, why did you take the pregnancy test? She said because she had the same symptoms that she had when she was pregnant. So that's first thing she thought of. I can understand, like, even, she probably was panicking, like, oh my God, like, why am I feeling this way? Oh my God. Like, so the media thinks she went to his pregnancy. She probably wasn't even thinking about Marcel having a vasectomy, right? And so Marcel's like, okay, it's only 2% chance. And so Carlos asked Marcel, do you think it's possible that Tisha could step out on you? He was like, yes, absolutely. She got a mouth and a hole. Yes. I was like, really? And so Tisha's like, what? Wow. And so he said, do I think it's probable? No. Do I think it's, it could happen? Yes. And so he said, if she's going to take a pregnancy test and I had a vasectomy, it's probably a chance that she would have gotten pregnant by somebody else because I had a vasectomy. And so Carlos was like, okay, this lady has held you down, 10 toes down. She said she's not going to believe you cheated on her unless, God shows her, like, she gets a clear evidence, and then you're over here. So how can you say you would leave her if she cheated, or that you even thought she cheated? He said because women cheat, women go out to the bar and they have a few drinks, and next thing you know, they made a mistake and they need a wet nap. And so Ms. Nell was like, okay, and men too. And so he's like, oh no, men are stronger than that. I'm like, really, Marcel? No, y'all not. Y'all be the main ones, okay? And Tisha's thing was like, if I would have been cheating, I wouldn't even can't tell you nothing, okay? I know that's right, Tisha. So, Marcel was saying, like, I don't think, she cheated on me, but I think, it could be a possibility, basically. But he kind of was trying to clean it up, like, oh, is it probable? No. But, like, could it happen? Yes, is his thing. Like, okay, Marcel. And so Tisha's like, dang, well, there he is. Like, that's it. Like, she was just shocked he would even say that, right? And so, Marcel was like, okay, what if, it's like this? What if I had a woman and I said, I had to take a blood test because I possibly got her pregnant, but then, the baby ended up not being mine. So it's the same thing as that. Like, the fact that I got to even take a test, it means, like, obviously I'm guilty. And so she was like, yeah, and if that happened, I'd be deuces, like, I'm leaving you. And so then he's like, okay, exactly. And so she's like, okay, but those are not the same thing. And they're really not, Marcel, because Tisha wasn't pregnant. She just thought because she got the symptoms. You're saying for sure you cheated and some woman had to take a blood test. That means you definitely cheated. So it's not the same thing. And so he's like, no, it is the same thing. And so everybody was on stage, was like, oh, they don't care. Like, if Tisha was to cheat on Marcel, they wouldn't mind. And so Kimmy's like, why would you say that? And so Carlos was like, oh, I'm just reading what's on the cards. And so she was like, he was like, well, he's had millions of allegations, so people on social media feel like, if she was to cheat on him, then that'd be fine. Mel was like, she was like, now she was co-signing and agreeing with Tisha the whole time. She's like, I was like, okay, Mel. Oh, Mel. She still wants some company in that situation, don't she? Anyway, and I think she was pointing out Martel's eye, rubbing his eyes, and he did look real sleepy. I couldn't tell if she said he was rolling his eyes or he's rubbing his eyes. I think she said rubbing his eyes, though. And so they said, Marcel, so Kimmy was like, oh, okay, well, we're assuming that Marcel has, everybody believes that Marcel has cheated on Tisha, so then, yeah, she could get her lick back. Tisha said she wouldn't do that, though. She don't play with her marriage. Y'all playing with y'all marriage right now with this stupid storyline about this pregnancy test, and I'm glad it's over. And please don't bring it back up for season 6 or 7 or whatever we on. We don't want to hear it no more. Okay? So anyway, then we wrap up the reunion. Carlos thanks everybody for coming. You know, he said everybody came with fun energy. It was his favorite reunion. I could definitely see that everybody showed up. Everybody played today. We had some arguments and some intense, crazy moments, but everybody did show up and everybody did have a fun, light energy. Okay. So I would say it was one of my favorite reunions for Love and Marriage Huntsville also, but I don't really remember the other reunions that well, so it's fine. Anyway, Carlos said, you know, Mel spoke up. Martel didn't go to sleep. Maurice even spoke. Like, it was a good reunion. He said he had an announcement. DNA test results are back. And Chris Fletcher and Courtney, you are not related. Chris is like, oh, dang. I said, somebody should have ran backstage like Maury should, right? And so he said, but we did find out that Maurice really is a millimeter. He's like, oh, man, I thought it was a raindrop. And so Carlos said, okay, we got the raindrops and the millimeter, so you're gonna be a limit drop. He thanked everybody for coming, and that was the end of the reunion, y'all. Thank y'all for watching this video. Thank y'all for taking this Love and Marriage Huntsville ride with me, because I know a lot of us got tired of this season being dragged out. We got Love and Marriage DC next week, though, y'all, so I'm excited for that. I really like my Love and Marriage DC, so if you are a fan of that show, meet me back here next week. We will definitely be talking about it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you thought of all 3 parts of this reunion, and I'll talk to y'all again soon. Bye.